All right, welcome back to another episode of NFT 365. And, it's kind of crazy. Today, on this actual date, we're recording this on January 1st, 11th. So not January 1st, January 11th, 2022. So it's 1/11/22. And of course, that means 10 months from now, it'll be the 1 year anniversary of the podcast. It'll also be the day we're selling our Mint 365 collection. And it's kind of like exciting because we're really getting up there, and there's just lots of good things happening. It's also a good reminder that, we're only 1/6 of the way there, which I think is something, also just to doing something every day for a year is a long time, because it's, a whole year. And so, one of the things that we're adding to our repertoire here on the podcast, officially starting now, we've been doing it kind of sporadically over the last 2 months, is that we're also now including the video podcast up on YouTube. So there'll be a full playlist and channel now dedicated towards all of the videos that we have for the podcast. So if you're someone that likes to consume via YouTube, you can do that as well. You might have noticed I did have the video out a couple episodes ago, episode 55, because I wanted to put the words on the screen for the 40 terms that I defined, all of the slang and the vernacular that is in this NFT space. But I really wanted to tackle on this episode, and kind of as we get into the podcast, I'm always trying to adapt and adjust, what we're talking about, how we're talking about it, and making sure that I'm tapping into the things that you guys are looking for. And I'll say I get a lot of the same questions, which I think is always a good sign. But I also get a lot of questions where it comes into this the drama, or even let's just say how the media, or what are the things that are picked up. And I feel like, unfortunately, right now it feels like in the NFT space, it's either the big bucks, big promo projects that are getting a lot of press, and then of course you have the OG staple projects which deserve the press, right? With Bored Ape Yacht Club and CryptoPunks and some of those. And then there's this press around the scams and the negativity and a lot of the things that are going out there. And, I have done an episode about avoiding the rug pull, and some of the things that you have to think about, to protect yourself. But in this episode, I actually wanted to kind of backtrack, right? Because we've now done 60 days in a row where we've actually minted an NFT every single day. So for 60 days, starting on November 11th, we've been buying an NFT every single day. We started with an ENS domain for our very first NFT that we minted all the way back on November 11th. And I think for those that are out there, we've kind of hit that home a little bit, but an ENS domain is really a short URL for your public wallet address. And if you think about your public wallet address as really, it's your email address for Web 3.0. So it's something that you can share publicly. It doesn't matter if people have, but it's this long hash. And so what ENS domains allow us to do is allow us to add a short domain or short URL to that. And I'll say, we have the domain. We have a bunch of, or I own a bunch of ENS domains. Of course, my personal one is off of fanzo.eth. We own the podcast one, NFT 365 podcast.eth. We own mint 365.eth. We own ADHD coin.eth. So that was really the one we first started out with, which, let's face it, was a little bit of a layup. And then on the second project that we minted back on November 12th, it was also a little bit of a layup. But I can tell you, after that date, there was no more layups, because the second project we minted, which was actually the very first PFP project that we minted, which, just to clarify, remember, PFP project is a profile photo project, which means really the art is something that you might wear as your profile photo. That second project was the Chibi Labs, and it was the Chibi Galaxy rollout. And the reason I say that was a layup was I'm a huge fan of the team. I'd actually met the team in person in New York a couple of weeks prior. I am actually an owner. I minted one of the Chibi Apes, which was the project they had launched earlier in the summertime. And I actually had the founder on as our very first guest here on the podcast a while back, one of the episodes in the 20s. So that's kind of how we started out. But, the question that I get a lot, and I think I wanted to kind of just tackle this, is, you're like, Brian, how are you doing the research, right? I've told everybody that we spend, I'd say 4 to 6 hours, depending on the project, researching what the day is, researching what other projects are minting that day. Also trying to be strategic, right? Actually, while we're recording this episode, I'm actually 0 for 2 on trying to mint a project today that I wanted to mint or include in our project. Both of them were fairly large mints, and unfortunately for us, I wasn't able to get on the whitelist, and I wasn't able to actually get one of the when they launched. And one of them is the Cake Apes, which I did end up buying one on the secondary market for myself, but I did try to mint that one for this project. And so tonight, one of the projects that we did some research on that we're hoping that we're able to mint out with is the Lazy Llama project. But that project has actually already announced that their pre-sale and their waitlist has actually already sold 80% of the project. So the likelihood of us getting one of those tonight is also limited. So this comes back to this idea, and I will tell you, I was very concerned this weekend. For those that aren't aware, there was multiple hacks of Discords. There were also kind of like threads or links that had gone viral on Twitter via Twitter DM. I was also just made aware of a Reddit forum that I guess was not only developed months ago for a product that was released on Solana, but it was developed with the entire idea of manufacturing buzz for the rug pull for one of the ape projects on Solana. And I don't like giving, it's that weird balance where I think we should learn from these projects, but we shouldn't give them any more publicity, in the rug pull side of the house. But for those that are wanting, a rug pull, I look at it as kind of two form, right? One is very methodical and evil and strategic, and I think those people should go to hell, and I have no problem saying that. And those are people that are building something with the sheer goal of manipulating everyone and stealing everyone's money, right? You can take it, say for what it is, right? We are all, adults here, and we have to take on the risk that we have. But there are bad people doing bad things, and there are those people that are going to do that. There are all the other side of the rug pull are, when it becomes either community managers, part of the team, maybe the founder is doing some shady things, and then it just becomes a project that is almost in like no man's land, no woman's land, and it's kind of like out there and ends up being a project that you just feel as though they didn't really have all their ducks in a row and they weren't really prepared to deliver. And I will tell you, I think a lot of the projects over the last year had a high likelihood of failure and becoming a rug pull, because so many projects launched without having like the due diligence of understanding like the legal aspects of the contract, or are they going to be able to deliver on the roadmap based on the budget that they're getting? How are they going to manage taxes? Who's going to manage the wallet or the community wallet? Are you doing a multi-sig wallet where it requires 2 signatures of authorization, kind of like what you would see like with like the thing that the president walks around with, right? For the to be able to bomb, right? You have to have 2 people's keys and the president's fingerprint to actually have that authorized. And so we've been researching, right? 60 days in a row. We bought 60 projects for a little over, right around $25,000 worth of spend between mint prices and gas fees and transfer fees and all that stuff. And I will tell you, here's the one truth that I want you to recognize from the start is we are all human. And I don't care how experienced you are in this space. I don't care if you're an influencer, you're a thought leader, or you're a newbie. We are all prone to a rug pull. We could all be manipulated. And here's the thing, I fell for one fairly recently, and it hit me really hard. I felt violated, right? I felt like the things that I've preached on this podcast were almost used against me in this project. And, all of the signs in my view lined up, and I ended up being wrong. And here's the thing we have to remember. It's not our fault, right? If we're doing the research and we are spending the time and checking the box, it does not mean that we are believing that a project is guaranteed to be successful or guaranteed not to be a rug pull. What we're saying is we are decreasing the likelihood based on the trends and things that we are we have seen, but that doesn't mean that this project can't be the anomaly or can't be something that hits us all, right? And I just want to put that out there. And it also means that, if you've fallen for, a fake link on Discord where you bought the wrong NFT, like I've said this on the podcast, right? There are 11 NFTs in my hidden folder that after buying them, I realized I either bought the wrong project, I brought a project that probably is a rug pull, or I just FOMO'd in and didn't do my own research that I should have. So if you are someone that's just FOMOing in and you're just throwing your money at things, hoping to hit 100 out of 100x win, yeah, you might want to take a little bit of the blame for a project, taking advantage of you. But if you're spending a little bit of time doing the research and doing your best, and you're allocating that risk versus reward, and you get manipulated, here's where the blame should be. The blame should be on those bad people doing bad things. And here's where your focus should be is what things can I learn from based on this experience so that I don't make the same mistakes again? And how can I share that with the public so that those mistakes are not happening? And most of there was a podcast episode very recently where I broke down, kind of like my, I guess you could call it a rant. I believe there's so much power in the culture and community of NFTs, but there's also so much negativity, and it's so easy for people to take advantage or manipulate people or claim to be an expert that aren't an expert. And yes, you can ask them to be to check their bag, and just because someone has a Bored Ape doesn't mean that they can teach you how to buy the right NFTs. Just because someone even has bought a lot of NFTs doesn't mean they have a strategy or an understanding on how to reverse engineer. And so I will tell you, there's a couple of things that I'm going to throw out for you to think about when you're researching. And one of them is when you're looking at the founders of a project. And remember, I'm very pro the founders being doxed, or at least the founders and the developers, which means I want to know their name. I want to know who they are. I also want them to be pretty active on Twitter Spaces or in your Discord channel. I think that's the least that you could ask of founders that are out there. And I will tell you, I'm not participating or partnering with any projects where that is not the bare minimum. And one of the things that I do when I research founders is I actually research founders like I research influencers, which is what the agency that I ran and was a part of, we've done for a long time. And you have to go beyond the social metrics, right? So I'll look and see what is their past, right? I'll Google their name, and especially if they have a rare name, right? What are the first page of Google results? But then I also be like, sometimes people might not have a lot of SEO or value. What does their Twitter following look like? And then I'll actually go through those tweets and I'll say, how many tweets are negative, right? I'll just scroll through the tweets. Now, there are a couple tools I will tell you that I do have the advantage of using. And I'm very blessed to have a lot of companies that have entrusted in me and given me free access to influencer tools that I can actually now use in this form or fashion. Because really what I'm trying to determine is what is their rapport? What is their tone? What is their not mental state is the wrong term, but what is their baseline of expectations for how they act on social media, right? And I hate to say it, but I'm one that doesn't judge people. I don't care if someone smokes weed. I don't even care if someone has a checkered past. What I care about is in the recent past and where we are today. Are you someone that is stands a moral high ground? Do you have an opinion, or do you just follow the other trolls and random quote unquote thought leaders in this space that just because they've been in this space a while, all of a sudden everybody has to kiss the ring and bow down to them? And then I also want to say what is your interaction with other projects, right? I am so bullish on WAGME, right? For those that were listening to the podcast episode 55, where I explained all the terms, WAGME stands for We Are All Going to Make It. And a lot of founders of projects make those claims, but they're really only looking out for their own or their one or two friends. And it's almost it almost becomes like a good old boys network, which, like, don't get me started on the boys' side of the house, right? Because I believe the women in this space and many of the women projects are the projects that are going to be blue chips this year, hands freaking down. And just wait till you see the lineup of guests I have coming on the podcast. I will tell you, I think 4 of the next 5 guests are females, and they are badasses in the space, and those that are doing really some innovative things, that have done innovative things, that are also doing innovative things, that are also people that we want to jump in with and really understand what they're all about. But what I mean by, like, I go back and I want to understand, are they amplifying other projects? And I'm also going to check, like, have they posted an OpenSea link on their Twitter account where I can go now see what is in their wallet? Like, I would even challenge projects founders that are out there right now. Like, I think it's a great idea for you to put a link to your and I know most of us have multiple wallets. I have 3 or 4 wallets that I operate in, but I have one that's a very public wallet, right? That most people can anyone can see what's going on. And I think as a project founder, if you really want to show people what you stand for and how you build, this is what I recommend you to do. And it's funny because one of the things that I've been red flagging recently with founders is if they talk only about flipping NFTs and overnight success and how much money they can make in the first 24 hours, yet the tone of their own individual project is to bash or belittle those that are flipping or that are worrying about the floor price, it's a red flag for me, right? And it's not saying that, hey, if you were a flipper, that, hey, kudos to you. I've been flipping NFTs over the last 3 weeks. I've really dialed into the secondary market flipping, and I've easily made 3 or 4 ETH just over the last couple of weeks flipping NFTs, and I have no problem with that. And for me, I'm trying to, like, hone in on some of that skill set. But I'm also one that says, back up what you're saying, right? And, like, that's really what the research that we're doing. And so you are, getting guilty by association. I'll look and say, who are following these NFT founders, and then who are engaging in their tweets or on their Instagram posts, and then I'll even go maybe even a step further, and I will go in and look, who are they replying to, right? So go to someone's Twitter account, and just because someone has 200,000 followers and they're only getting 30 replies does not mean they have bots. I watched a TikTok video the other day, and someone's like, this is how many Twitter followers they have, and they should have 10.5% engagement. That's all complete crap, right? Like, the algorithm works for the algorithm. Just because someone has a ton of followers and low engagement, that does not mean that it is a bot. It could mean that their content's not resonating with their audience. It could mean that they post too much or too little. But I want to know who is engaging, right? Because part of that also will tell me who are the people that are most likely to buy this NFT. And I will say, this is kind of my new little hack that I'm going to give to you guys here on the podcast. Another way that you can avoid a rug pull, or that you could, in many ways, better understand the breadth of a project, is look who's promoting that project or talking about it, and ask yourself, would you want to be in a project with that person? Like, are the values that that person has ones that you care about, right? And it also goes to the fact with how much time is spent on marketing and promoting the price and the art versus how much is spent on promoting the utility and the social good cause, right? And I will tell you, that is one that can really piss me off, is if I find out that the founders, all of their marketing is about the social good element and, giving back and making mental health a priority. But then when you dig down into the roadmap and you realize only 5% of the total, revenue is going to go to that, not that nonprofit or that social good case, that something smells funny to me. And I believe every project should have a social good aspect. But I believe if you're going to use charity or donation or social good or mental health as a focus in your marketing, you better back that up with a higher percentage of that in your project, goals and through point. And I will also say, just because a project has a philanthropy aspect of it does not mean it's a good project to be a part of. Doesn't even mean that the founders are good, right? We know many use cases of that. And then lastly, the thing I wanted to kind of dial in for this one is, when we're looking at rug pulls, also look at, little things like, I like to look at like how high, what is the mint price? Do they explain why the mint price is at that level? And then I look at what is the revenue share that they're taking on secondary markets. So if it is a 0.2, ETH mint, which I think of as a high mint price, like I think that's an overpriced mint price. And then I also look and say they're taking 10% royalties on top of that on all secondary sales. Man, that seems like they're really, they're in it for the money and they're going to like really milk people for it, right? Like if you're going to do 10% on secondary, I think your mint price should be much lower, right? You should think about it as like your mint price should be 0.05 or 0.04, even lower. Because remember, if you're getting that 10% on secondary, you want lots of transactions, lots of money changing hands, because that's also going to be, you're going to get 10% of each of those. And so if someone doesn't understand the strategy and the mechanics behind that, that's also a red flag. And then last but not least, you really have to listen to the founders. And this is why I think founders should be on video. I think they should be on Twitter Spaces. I think they should be on Clubhouse. I believe if you are a founder of an NFT project and you want your NFT project to be successful, I think you should be hyperactive with getting your voice out, not just pitching your product, your NFT project, but aligning your project with other projects that are similar, right? And I think it's very easy to do that, because I will tell you, in many cases, if I love one project and I plan on minting it, and they're partnered with another project that they're aligned with, I'm almost guaranteed to mint that as well. But if you're a project, you're like, oh, well, I'm in this space, but I haven't really looked to collaborate with others that are also in this space. To me, that's also a red flag, right? Because you're not recognizing like the idea of what the community value is, but you're also not really connecting with your greater values and your mission. And then the thing that, that we've learned, I would say, over these last 60 days or so, and I will say, we've minted on 9 different blockchains. Most recently, the last 3 weeks, it's only been Ethereum. And I'll say part of that is because the projects that have been road mapping out on Solana recently, I've been very disappointed with. A lot of them seem half-assed. The roadmap, even the website, like if I view source on the website, it's not very well designed. They're not putting much time or effort into that. And now, if it's an artist doing all of the work, I have a much different approach to this, because I don't think I'm not going to hold an artist accountable for being a great marketer or a great website designer. I would rather just look at their art. But if you are a project founder and you're hiring an artist and you're hiring a developer, like what the hell is your job? Right? Your job is to make sure this is delivered at a high level and you're able to back up what you're saying that you're going to deliver on. And the last thing that I'll kind of throw out there is, in one of the most recent episodes of the podcast, I mentioned about how it's very easy for the data to be manipulated and lied to us. It's also very easy to tell what people care about when they talk about the dates and the projects itself, right? And I will say I'm a big, believer in like the human condition and the words we use matter. Think about it if a founder has a team and when they're talking about their project, they talk about, I made this is what I wanted. To me, that's also a red flag. Because if you have a team and you brought your team on board, it's about what we together are all about. You guys know here on the podcast, I always talk about we. I'm so glad we are together and we are on our 60th episode and we are very close. We're 1/6 of the way there. And I will tell you, most of the podcast production and development is just me. I'm a team of one. I'm doing a lot of this, buying the NFTs, researching the NFT, minting the NFT, getting it in the right wallet, making sure that's secure, then recording the podcast, editing the podcast, getting it up on Libsyn, writing the show notes, getting it out on social media, making sure that all of the collateral is updated. But I also am now bringing more people on my team, and I have Kevin, and I have Drew, and I have Eric, and I have Bree that are including on helping me out. I have Jaffe and Gary Henderson that are also shedding some light and helping me with some things with this project. And so it is a we. And so be very careful about those that are willing to step on people that they're paying for or that they're bringing onto a team. Because for me, the likelihood of them stepping on us as the NFT owners is also probably pretty highly likely. And I'll end with, this on, I talk about use cases at the end of every episode. And I want to, say that one of the things that has been requested is that you want us to say what is the last NFT that we minted for the project, because I'm doing a lot of these NFTs, a lot of these podcasts live, and I'm posting it the same day. In the most cases, I'm recording it the day before and posting it the next morning. But, I think it's a great idea. And so we're going to try to do that more and more. And so yesterday we minted the Satoshiables, and it's the Monsters edition of it. So it's the Monster Sotishables. I don't know how to say that. It's of course it's a tribute to one of the founders, and I think it's such a neat aspect of what they're kind of doing. But I will tell you, part of the reason that we minted that for this project is they already had a project that rolled out originally, and so this is like the Monsters version, or you could say kind of like Bored Ape did, right? It's their mutant version. It's like their second level of it. And I will tell you, what I did for this project is I reached out to people that were in their Discord with their original project. And I just said, hey, how much do you like the community? What's your favorite thing about this project? And I was blown away with how many people loved the art, loved the community, loved the interaction. And so when I saw that they were minting out this Monsters edition, I was able to jump on that, and I jumped on it right away. And then we minted that yesterday for our collection, which I'm very excited about. And I actually might have that that founder of that project on the podcast in the near future. But I will say the use case that I want to kind of tie in here is there's also a use case for us figuring out where we are most vulnerable in Web3, so that we can mitigate that. So when the masses are here, that we can be better ready to deliver. And part of that requires us to roll with the punches. And most of I interviewed the founder of Meta Athletes, Kevin, on the podcast a couple of days ago. He did an amazing job of kind of talking through that. It's episode 57. For those that are listening, you can go back and jump. They're creating, in my opinion, the premier athlete NFT launch incubator with Meta Athletes, and I'm on that team in full disclosure now as one of the coaches and advisors. And Drew, who's one of the founders, is also one that works on me with some projects. But, over the weekend and over the last couple of days, their first launch was supposed to be today. And based on some of the hacks and some of the things that had gone on, and really just surveying their community and looking at those that were active in their Discord, they recognized that it was probably better to push it off a couple weeks and make sure they had some of these other things lined up, and made sure that everyone in their community that wanted to jump on this project were prepared to do so. And I will tell you, it kind of made me love this project even more, because I believe it's very easy for us to rush things out the door and say, I'll figure it out when I get there. Or it's like, I don't want to miss the momentum, and everyone's buying NFTs right now, and ETH is down, Ethereum, ETH is down, so NFTs are up, so we need to launch our NFT. But that's for those that are just trying to capitalize on FOMO and short term. I'm looking at projects that are here for long term, that are building sustainability. And one of those tells is if they're able to be clear with their communication while also rolling with the punches. Maybe they had a tech issue, right? Like some of my favorite projects had not a really good launch. Their tech launch was not very good, not very clean. But the way they handled it was so mature and so top level, I became more of a fan, because now I know what they're in it for, and they're not going to shy away, and they're not going to ignore, some of the problems and things that are going on. And I would say that like the Nifty team over there that launched the Matrix, NFT series, I thought they did an amazing job of, really, honing in and helping, a lot of projects that are, let's face it, aren't near as, smooth with their launches. They did a great job, in my opinion, of really working hard to openly communicate. They had a Twitter space that was running when they were having the tech issues. They ran a Discord channel, audio channel, almost through the entire troubleshooting on day 2, which I thought was really, really well done as well. And so, like, to me, these are all things that are of of mass importance. And so I'll leave you guys with that. There is no surefire way to avoid a rug pull. There's no guarantee that you can really do that. Like we'll say, like, if you do this, you won't have somebody pull the rug out behind you. But I will say, give yourself a little bit of grace. Do the due diligence required to do some of these projects. Like, don't shy away from that. And then also recognize that there are plenty of great projects out there, and you don't have to be involved in every one. And in many cases, if something feels funny or off, trust yourself over trusting anything else or any data or what any other person is talking about. So with that, my friends, I bid you adieu. I hope you have make it a great day, and we will talk tomorrow. Cheers. Oh man, I was on the video. You saw my my web camera froze, and while I was recording, I had to try to switch cameras and adapt. And I didn't have my second camera up, which is kind of funny because I almost always have my second camera up, which I could have been able to switch to this camera very easily, and I would have been like, woohoo, and we would have been good to go. But unfortunately, I didn't have that camera even at the ready, and so when this camera went dead and froze there, I wasn't able to, adapt as I kind of usually would have wanted to. But that's part of the fun here of doing the podcast on video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed having the podcast here. And, I know it's a little bit of a change of pace, but, hopefully giving you guys more options to consume the content and everything that we're doing here. So hope you enjoy this podcast episode. And we're going to be doing video episodes of the podcast every day. So do me a favor, hit that bell down there here on YouTube, hit subscribe. And if you do me a favor and share it out on social and give us a comment below, that would be amazing. Cheers, my friends.
Not financial advice.